I think we're live. Okay. All right. As I promised yesterday, today's live will be just about GTII. We'll talk about that until you're sick of it. So any questions you have on GTII, otherwise, no other tickers, no other subject. We'll just talk about GTII because it's so useful to making money. What I've been trying to do is show people how to make money. We're up against a corrupt Wall Street system. Yesterday, I used a bad word twice to tell somebody essentially that I was offended by them. And I do apologize for that. But he attacked Ham and said that Ham is a scam. Well, that gentleman, all I've ever heard from him is negatives. I've never seen him do any work at all to fight Wall Street's corruption. Now, Ham has given trading ideas. He focuses on two stocks, which he has studied, one of which we'll just talk about today. All we're going to talk about is GTII. This apparently is a great sin of mine not to talk about GTII. So it's 14 cents. Let's get the last quote. It's 13 cents, 1302 by 1399. There's no chance in hell that it's going to make any money in the near term. And there's a possibility it won't make money in the longer term because David Reichman insists on maintaining control. So anyway, but let's talk about it. Let's just talk about GTII. There's other stories out there that seem to be making money. I'll point out one to you, but we won't talk about it. We'll just talk about GTII. All we're going to talk about is GTII. It won't make any money for anybody. But look at this stock. Let's not talk about this stock. We're only going to talk about GTII. But this stock is at 213. So if you look at this these two green lines on the chart, it hasn't quite broken through 225. But I think if it breaks through 225, one target would be 275. More likely to me is $3. Maybe that 375 number. But anyway, here's the stock that's the stock that seems to have some potential. But let's not talk about that. We're just going to talk about GTII. I'm hearing on the one stock that I can't talk about that begins with a letter at the end of the alphabet, something might be happening there, but it's risky. So let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about GTII. GTII, all right, here, maybe we can get him on. Hello? Hello?
What are you doing?
Well,
What?
I'm trying to get you live. Let me see if I can do it. All right, we'll go. Relax, everyone. All right, let's see. It just takes a second.
Battery 100%. Connected.
All right. You should be connected to the speaker. Nope, you're not. Okay, you should be now. Yep, you're not. You're
All right,
connected.
listen, I'm picking my son up at school, so if I'm short, you know why. I posted something this morning. I heard that there was another short sell and he's trying to cover. Some guy piled on, and I think he's trying to cover. I put it up 2 hours ago, and someone just told me the stock is turning around. I says, I'm just telling you what I heard. I don't know how big it is, but these guys are like they tried to pile on, I guess, and it didn't work. I told you I got three hedge funds that have been accumulating it, and they were buying like 60,000 before around $3. So I guess that turned it. But that's what I heard on that front. So that's a good thing, and that's that. Let's go move on to this Donald Trump thing. For the gentleman that told me yesterday that I support Donald Trump's company, I don't even know what they do. I said that 60 times. We are attached to them in the naked short selling fight. Finger Motion does something else. DJD does something else. You want to bet against it? Knock yourself off. Knock yourself out. I do not care. All right. I do believe that once they bust the naked shorts, you will get roasted, no matter how bad the company is. They're going to get roasted. So that's my belief. Do what you have to do. I have connections through a big Republican National Party, whatever the hell whoever it is, what is it, RNC? Is that it?
RNC, Republican National Committee.
Yeah, whatever it is, at Naples, Florida. And they're making a call for me to have a sit down with Devin Nunes myself. I am going to teach Devin Nunes what to say and how to fight back. No more this pussyfoot shit. We're going right for the jugular. He needs to come out. I sent the message to Tom Ronk and the people that I know that are speaking to him. Stop treating this guy with like his little girl. Let's get this thing going. I said he needs to come out, get on TV today, and say one thing. Naked shorts are in all stocks. The market is full of counterfeit shares. It needs to end. We need to investigate. And when we do investigate and follow the sell tickets to the money, we will arrest and put these people in jail. End of subject. You want to keep playing? Good luck. I know how to investigate, and that's what I'm going to do. And when I catch you, you go into jail. That's what I'm going to teach him. I do not want him talking about Reg Show. Reg Show, for people that don't understand it, when you have too many fails in a short period, it pops up on the Reg Show list. But the shitheads know how to, you're short, they wash the trade, and they take it off a Reg Show. So it goes on and off, on and off. Stop using Reg Show as a selling point. They manipulate Reg Show back and forth. So it looks bad one day, looks good the next day. You're on, you're off, and they make him look like a fool. These are things the short sellers can control. They control fails to deliver. How? Because they can wash it. If they're short, they have to buy it, and that covers their short. But all they're doing is buying a new counterfeit share short. So the guy who's short, he buys a new counterfeit. It looks to the world like he covered his short. And now the new guy has a new position. He's short in a different LLC, and they just keep moving the boulder down the road. It's called kiting a check. When you write a check and you can't cover it, you write another check and you keep going on. I use different credit cards. I'm sure everyone has done this at some point in their life. So I need to get him focused. I'm working on it now. I scrambled the jets. I have people banging the doors down to the highest level. I'm ready to go to Naples, Florida and start. And I need to get this introduction to Nunes and teach this guy how to speak about this crime. No more. There's no roaring kitty, chill. There's none of this nonsense. We're going to punch him right between the eyes. All right. This is how it's going to end up. All right. And you know it's coming from me. And that's about my day. I don't know. Everything else okay?
Well, everything is pretty non-event. Everyone's focused. Maybe you can point out how important it is, I guess. But Finger Motion has announced on Twitter that they're going to put out a 10K before the end of the month, as if this is new information. This is information you can find on Yahoo for the last 60 days. But anyway, Finger is going to...
Finger Motion, but did what?
Finger announced on Twitter there's a 10K before the end of the month. News is imminent.
Okay. What does that mean? It's nothing.
I-
What does it mean?
It's just something people tell me for the last 3 days that,
Well, listen, if the company's doing anything, they're reporting what? They're reporting their earnings, they're reporting the dividend. That's what they're doing.
I don't know. It's a good point the gentleman makes. The company's being transparent. I guess that's a good point.
I don't know, listen, that's it. Listen, companies need to grow up. Listen, if we started a public company, you and everybody's on your phone call, we'd be walking around in circles. What do we do next? Who do we call? That's how it works. It's not like they're bringing a person and he is the public company. Not many people know how to run a public company. It's not easy. You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to make sure this is on time. You can't say that, you can't do this. That's a public company. So maybe they're learning what to do and now they know what to do. I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
Listen, I'm focused on what I know. I heard that there's another short. He piled on. That's why the selling's been so strong every day, moving it down since the company rang the bell. The wonderful event, the stock has been being pushed down every day, a nickel a dime, a nickel a dime, a nickel a dime, every day. All right, and on the days when DJT dips down further, they push down more on the stock. The problem is that this stock is so condensed. Where's it going? The company's value. This company has value, not like DJT, which is a startup. It's a startup. They did the same thing to Root, ROOT. It was an IPO. They killed it down, right? I told you, from 27 to $1. They reversed it back up to 25. All right, back down again. And now the company is digging out, and it's still nowhere near its high. It's the same thing, but now the company's fundamentals are catching up to it. This is 3 years later. DJT's got $250 million in the bank. The most powerful man in the world is behind it. And people are trying to shoot it down. Oh, this fundamentals think it's a new company. You can have $10 billion in the bank. You can't build your vision overnight. You need to hire people, get buildings, get computers, get the network set up. It takes time. But I'm not going to listen. The short sellers move it too fast. They just hit a sell button and they tell people, hey, the companies are no good. We have no idea what their plan is.
And these guys,
and I'm going to give you one more.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you one more for you guys who don't understand it. When Facebook went public, I think it went public, let's say at 50. They destroyed it to 18.
I think it was supposed to go public at 38 or 32.
Yeah, right. Whatever. So
Yeah.
anyway, they destroyed it down. And every article about the company was one thing. How are they going to make revenue from all these people? They have no way. There's no clear sign to revenue. That's what they wrote about it. I wrote an email to Zuckerberg, that's his name, telling him they were driving it down because after the first quarter, the insiders were allowed to sell it. People that were with the company for years, they were allowed to make their first sales. So with the stories, the negative stories, they pushed the stock down, and the people sold their stock. After building this company, they sold it down. They bailed out at $18 a share. Once those people sold that big block of stock at 18, guess what happened, William? Every story was positive after that. The next day, the overhang in the stock is out. What overhang? These people aren't allowed to sell it to a certain point. And when they sold it, they scooped it up Wall Street. They shorted it, scooped it up, and then the stock went to $200. It was complete fraud. And I wrote about it back then. If anybody wants to go back and look, I can assure you the stock went from the IPO price. I can't remember what that was, but I know the low is 18 because I wrote the letter to Zuckerberg myself.
Yeah, I remember it. I had friends getting stock from their stockbrokers. They were all excited. And then it collapsed.
Right. They drove it straight down, and then the insiders were allowed to sell the stock. As soon as they sold the stock, it turned around, and every story was positive. So these guys got old cheap stock, positioned it properly, and then they took it to the moon, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, it's all manipulated.
I'm saying, but they said the company had no vision to drive revenue. They don't know how they were going to do it, all those people. They had no idea. The company knew what they were doing. It's just that these guys took advantage of it. And that's what they're doing to DJT. Wall Street is about the same patterns. You can only do so much. It's the same patterns. But you're dealing with the most powerful man in the world. He's under attack doing what he has to do in New York. When he comes out of that, Devin Nunes is going to rip their hearts out. I can promise you that. But again, I can't, you know, when it comes to me, everyone thinks I'm insane. When you see it come out of his mouth, and I'm doing everything as fast as I can to get down there to this gentleman to get me in the door.
They might have a point. Everyone might have a point. Somebody's asking you, is Root still squeezing? The chart looks interesting. Not to me. It doesn't.
You know what? I stopped looking at it. I don't even know what price it is.
It's 60, I think 60.82 or 60.02.
Listen, that stock has been shorted down. I think the high was equivalent to 500 after the split. So
yeah,
you know, they took away 25%. I don't know how to calculate it. It's over my head. The stock was 27, went to $1, reversed to 25, back down to 7. And this move is from 7. It spiked to 100. They drove it down to 55. It popped back up recently. And now it's lingering around 66, 63. I can't tell you what day they're going to go, but if there's no selling in it, then it's going
there's no real volume either.
How could it be finger motion have 400,000? How many shares traded today, William?
Finger motion. Sorry, just keep talking. I'll give it to you a second. Finger motion is 401,000 today.
401,000 every day. They're washing trades to take care of the unsettled trades. That's whoever's doing it is trying to buy more settlement time. They shorted it at 350, 375 recently. They're pushing it down. Now they're washing it. It's impossible to have 400,000 shares a day in a stock. The holders all own the stock. I told you, I don't know one person who's called up and scolded me, yelling at me, I'm selling my stock. Listen, I got people do sell 1,000, 2,000, 5, whatever it may be. I'm talking people, anyone with 50 or higher has not sold a share. I haven't gotten a phone call about it.
So the two stocks I can't talk about, one of them, the one you own, looks good. It's up to 89 cents. Looks like it's about to break over its.
Listen, all I know is I hear they're going to go, and I can't tell you the exact time. So I'm sitting here watching it. I'm in one. I'm not in the other. That's it. And I told it the other day. The company came out with wonderful news. They're going to be. My friend scolded me. He owns 400,000, and he said the company's being delisted from the Nasdaq. I said, oh, that's good news. He's like, he couldn't believe it. He said, what? I said, that means the stock has to go above $1. Because they have to maintain $1 for 10 days. So you know it's going over $1. So I expect it to go over $1 shortly. At that point, let's hope it takes off from there. That's all I can
Jenny says, is Ham saying it's the same pattern, fraud in this market? She's shocked.
It's so, you can tell her, it's just amazing that I have to say this over and over again. I'm banging my head against the wall. And I understand it. I repeat a lot so you understand it. You know, I posted something about Ivan Boesky passed away. Ivan Boesky was my client. I talked to him every day. Okay, he wasn't a very bright man. Someone was calling the shots for him. There's no question about it. I don't know who it was, but you know, he traded on inside information all the time. All right, he created his inside information, so he was a big deal back then. And it's so funny looking back at it. If he only naked shorted, he never would have went to jail. He could have been as rich as Ken Griffin.
Right.
And the SEC would have protected him. Instead, he was front running inside information. Now, I don't know about you, but you know, I'm a believer in, you know, if you got an edge, you take the edge. But when you get an edge, it doesn't hurt anybody. The only person who gets hurt when the deal comes out, you know, if I own a stock at $35 and it pops to 37 and I pay 35, I'm kissing the ground because I just made $2 in it. If it goes up the next day 10, I missed it. What am I going to say? How did that harm anyone?
Right.
It doesn't harm anyone. Don't get me wrong. What he was doing was illegal based on the rules. I got it. But it was not harming anything. Naked short sellers steal our money, destroy the companies, completely manipulating the markets, no trust in the equity markets. Very different. These people should be hung. They're destroying people's lives, families breaking apart, people having heart attacks. You name it, I've seen it. I've never seen anyone have a heart attack because their stock got taken over. And Ivan Boesky bought it before you did. I don't think anybody had any gripe about that. So it's very different. I got it. The rules are slanted that you can't have inside information. They're always locking people up who got told a rumor or a story, and they always go after them. Meanwhile, we deliver them complete criminals. It's so funny in the Savvy Management press. I read it again this morning. He called it a naked short selling scheme. A scheme. Scheme means to someone that they're frauding somebody. The scheme. The SEC didn't put out a little. This guy schemed to rob people, and his partner on many deals is Jeff Easton. These guys hang out together. 100%. These guys are partners in their crimes, and they did nothing to lock these guys up. The guy bought a $10 billion condo with stolen money, and they let him go. He belongs in jail. They all do. There's no offense about these guys are just looting, destroying. They're spoofing. Christian Shaughnessy put up things about spoofing. A trader from where I forgot where he's got sentenced to 70 months in jail. You know, I mean, how come they can't add up how many years that is? Why is it 70 months? 70 months doesn't sound like a lot, right? Why don't they put up the years? How many years that is, right? They don't say anything about that. 70, I never saw a statement.
70
He's
months.
going to jail for 70 months. What the hell does that mean? How many years is it?
10-month periods.
Right. I'm just saying that if they word all these things like it's okay.
It's
only 70 months.
It's 8 children. A woman could have 8 children in 70 months.
Yeah.
If she were Irish.
I'm just saying that they should start putting these people in jail. Once they put Savvy in jail, you watch how fast the rest of these guys fall. They'll be running so fast. If you think there were warehouses full of ticket sales burning down, you'll see many more. I told my brother about that yesterday. He couldn't believe it.
That they burned the warehouse?
Growing up in Brooklyn, there was a place that burnt down around the corner from where we lived.
Right.
And, as kids, it was a big fire. It was a warehouse, and it burnt down. And we watched it burn. They put it out to the fire department.
Yeah.
And it was burnt. It was laying there burnt for 2 weeks before they started to clean it up. In the warehouse, Ameritrade's warehouse in Chicago, the building was on fire, and they were taking it away with the bulldozers. The building was on fire. They were putting it in trucks to cart it away. Why were they doing it? Because they didn't want any evidence to be found on that site. They needed to get it out of there quick. And they didn't want a ticket to be found. They didn't want a match, nothing to be found.
Okay.
And that's how they got it out of there. And I still remember where I grew up, a building burnt down. We all looked at it every day. Let's go look at it. The place burnt down as kids. I remember it. This place, they burnt down and they took it away. And people have photos of it, videos of them loading trucks while the building's on fire. They put it out first? I never seen that before.
Stony Bones says that, I don't know if this is true, but maybe Citadel was found to have hired the cleanup crews. I don't know if that's true.
I wouldn't doubt it. A friend of mine was telling me about it in the NFL. Each team has a fixer. So when a player gets in trouble, what's the name? Ray Donovan type character. I don't know if people know from HBO. Someone that cleans up everybody's messes, the rich people's messes.
That's like that guy in Pulp Fiction. That actor.
The
Wolf, yeah.
Harvey Keitel.
Harvey Keitel, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't tell me the wolf was coming. It's the same thing. I'm sure Ken Griffith's got this. He's worth $45 billion.
Yeah.
Listen, you cannot make the money he's making. It's impossible. I knew the best traders in the world, and I watched them get their asses kicked.
I used to follow different analysts, different technicians, different traders. There was never any one of them that was correct year after year after year after year after year. The only way to get these returns is to cheat, right, or to be the sluice for the Federal Reserve. You just are in front of all their orders.
Listen, I have a friend of mine that's an over-the-counter trader. His firm went out of business. He bounced around a little bit, and now he's not even in the business.
Right.
Guess why? Because he can't trade against order flow. He can't trade his way out of.
Oh, yeah. Retail used to be the ass end of every trade, but retail doesn't trade anymore. That retail's gone.
He can't tell you if a stock is going up and down. Professional traders are different. I was a professional trader. We have opinions. We can see. We take risk. This guy can only sell short, knowing that there was stock for sale. There was this. There was something around. He would only short it when he knew that there was a seller because someone had to sell or his friend. That they only play when they were hedged. And these guys always, if you went out to a bar in New York City back in the day, where we used to meet to hedge the over-the-counter traders, we used to laugh at them. Because they were all scumbags. They just stole. They didn't risk any money. They only steal from people. That's what they did. And Ken Griffin refined it, so he's the kingpin. Got rid of all the other traders, and they all go to him, and he steals now. It's easy. It can't be any easier. And the only reason they can steal now and do it so powerful is because the stock settlement system does not work. That's it. There's nothing else to say. That's it. 100%.
Yeah.
And we have to sit here and explain it to everybody. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate you listening. I got it. It just burns me up. You're not the only people losing here. But if we don't fight back, everyone's going to get wiped out.
Yeah.
That's it. There's nothing to say. I could quit tomorrow and walk away and start trading again, but I don't want to do it. I'm not here for a medal. I'm not here for anything. Listen, I have to run. My son's getting out of class. All right, William, I'll call you later.
All right. I might be live. All right, bye.
Thank you.
Call ended.
All right. I guess that didn't work. Try it again. Try it again. I guess I got 2. Oh, stop. 2324. 2324. So yeah, I'll answer that question that you guys asked, but let me just finish on my over the top point. And then we'll get off of it. Oh gosh, my computer is so slow. It's slow. Okay. 2324. 2324. I don't see it. 2324. 22. There it is. 2324. Okay, open. Okay. All right, here is GTII since inception. You see the green line? It's not a very good line, huh? I used my finger. But that is a round trip, basically. The stock jerked up twice back in January, April, end of 21. And then, so it was August, September, and then it was November, December. It jerked up in price twice from 0.0156 to 0.07, something like that. And then it just skyrocketed when David Reichman bought back the note from the Kramers. And you can see I don't know if you see my little thing here, but somewhere in August, September range, maybe it was November, Reichman signed the note with the Kramers. But you can see all along before was selling. This is the Kramers or their buddies selling stock without locating it and then giving that $60,000 to Reichman and then there's a spike up. It comes back down as they sell it back down because that's their game. And then Reichman bought it back. That's when Ham heard about the story. The stock jumped and it soared to $224. And then it was sideways with plenty of opportunity to trade it. They got it down in the middle of 22. And then boom, all of a sudden it went to $9. And this is when we got infatuated with the three horsemen from COSM. The stock starts trading down. At the time I'm watching the short selling list, you see in this red corner here, there's a lot of volume on the daily short selling data from FINRA, massive. The Kramers and Aubrey are selling it. I'm getting threats. I'm getting shitty text messages from the short saying, we're going to bring it down. We're bringing it down. Sure enough, they brought it down. And then it kind of sparked back upward. But then for the gentlemen and gentlemen who come on and say, oh, he never puts GTII up anymore. He's switching tickers. Why doesn't he talk about GTII? Let me tell you, this last year or more of trading, what do you see? I put it in yellow lines. Do you see any reason to buy that stock? Do you see any indication that that was a good place to be? I don't. But here we are. We're down at 13 cents. I do call your attention to a couple of things. The trade has round tripped. There's no question. The volume isn't that high down here. But look what happened before when it got down. It spiked, and here it spiked. That can happen again. A spike can happen again. But you also, if you ignore our belief in the story, I tried to draw this green line. My finger went up. It shouldn't have. But somewhere around where the green crosses the yellow is your downside risk. And then below that, your downside risk is 3 cents. So this isn't a pretty picture. But the boo birds that come on, they get paid to come on. They get on here to try to get me, and it's easy with me. You know, I get upset, particularly when you say something negative about my friend and a person who I watched just work his butt off for 3 years. So I react to that. But guys and girls, GTII is not worth talking about. So I don't put it on my tickers. I haven't talked about it. I haven't emphasized it. My sense was that it was going down. So I tried since last August or even a little bit earlier. I just haven't emphasized it. And I continue to feel that the stock is going to do nothing and poses significant percentage downside risk. Why? The Kramers sell, the Hurries sell. There is no settlement. And the Alpine lawsuit continues to wind its way. The story's all the same. But for several days with several people, oh, they're switching, it's a scam, they're switching tickers. Well, here, I just gave you half an hour of GTII. My opinion, it goes nowhere unless Alpine's short position gets bought in. I see no evidence that's imminent. Or if Reichman goes. If Reichman goes, we got a lot of work ahead of us. We can make it successful, but we have a lot of work ahead of us. That means time. So if you're trying to make money, if you're trying to trade, I don't think GTI is the place to be. Okay. Now I just want to say something else. If I just banned someone forever just now, I will in the future ban people instead of respond. And if I banned you and I make a mistake, that's the risk. I don't want to go to bed like I did last night, upset at myself that I lost my temper because of a jerk who's a coward. It's easy to sit out there and criticize, never make a recommendation, never show up in Congress, never help fight this. It's easy. And I'm not gonna take it anymore. I will err on the side of banning someone before I give any credence to their point of view. And you're going to say, well, he only wants to hear things that go along. No, that's not true. I don't mind having a debate, talking about things, as long as it's constructive. As long as it's constructive. But Ham knows two stocks very well, Finger and GTII. I think GTII management for a long time tried to do everything to make it work. And they roadblocks along the way. We learned. And if you didn't learn the systems against us, you didn't learn anything. And if you're here to tell me that Ham is a scam, scram. Just scram. Go somewhere else. Go listen to trading ideas from Ronco, or go listen to Timothy Yikes or something. Just go somewhere else. I'm not here for anyone to trash talk Ham. And if I see it, you're banned. I'm very grateful to Ham for working so hard. He works on these two stocks. One of them, I don't see it working anytime soon. Finger, on the other hand, is set up either for an explosive squeeze or just a steady, straight on rally to nice, and making it a good investment, or both. But Ham's also here to educate, to fight, to go down to the SEC, and I go down, call out these wastrels, these completely useless sycophants like Goober Gary Gensler, and promoted because she's a woman, Adina Friedman, or because she used to work at Carlisle, or both. But she thinks she's such a big shot. She's a woman in the seat making $2.5 million a year, showing the patriarchy. Well, guess what, Adina, baby girl? It's a job, and you have a responsibility to look out for CEOs and investors, not just cash the paycheck and make sure your nails are done. These people are impossible to provoke into action. They're just impossible. You've got the guy with 3 C's in his name, with a big smile over at OTC, Cromwell, Charles III, complete idiot. His market is the laughing stock of the world, and he collects his checks, and he's got a big smile on his face. And he has no interest. And then you've got that suck up over at FINRA, Robert Cook, who sucks up to Gary Gensler, who himself kisses so many asses, he doesn't even need to use his nose. They're not there to help us. So it's easy for these people to come on and say, oh, the stock's going down and it's a scam and they're just scamming. Well, then just short the stocks. You probably work with market makers anyway. You're just scum as far as I'm concerned. If you're sided with the people who are selling trillions of dollars worth of stock into existence, stealing money, destroying America, I don't have any respect for you at all. So in the future, I'm going to err on the side of banning anyone who criticizes Ham and is here to be a supporter of the short sellers. And that's as simple as that. Now, on a positive note, what I think we've built here is a place where we can learn and talk about stock ideas and kind of, have an enjoyable confab together. So I hope we get back to that. I do apologize for using the F-bomb twice yesterday. All right, so it's 3:00. Let's look at a couple scores. Oh, I want to answer your question. I will. Let's go find that question. Dreamtime. I don't know anything about Dreamtime, but Bill, if Dreamtime needs capital, don't go public. Don't go public. I've worked with a guy who raises money privately. I raise money privately, and a GTI only stream. What can we talk about with GTII? What can we talk about? Let's see. He probably thinks that's a good deal. Let me find. Oh, here it is. Oh no, it's not. That's very good, Jenny. I can't find this question. This guy is going to. Oh, here it is. The correlation between RCRT and logic, if there is anything. Okay. Logic, which I've been in a long time, in and out, trading in and out, losing money, making some sometimes. Logic was a company called Wayland, and then some merger happened and it became Logic. And then Logic had business here in the United States, but I don't know what to call it. Its daughter company, a subsidiary, was GoLogic, and that was mostly Southeast Asia and a little bit of Africa. Anyway, they distributed GoLogic, I believe 2 years ago, 2 Decembers ago, and I still have mine. It hasn't been made free to trade. The stock was $8. It's now 25 cents. So Logic became Logic and GoLogic, some ownership in GoLogic. Then Logic continued, or as many people would say, continued on, totally unnecessary. Logic continued as a entity and built up its revenues and its presence, brought in some other companies, and then went to this group, Aubrey Advisors, who are great guys. They've done 100 SPACs. They're as good as their word, but for some reason they didn't know the basics of raising money. You never leave your company vulnerable to needing capital when it hasn't achieved positive metrics or a milestone or the revenue. But they did that because I guess they were just so busy, they didn't know how to do anything differently. So anyway, Logic distributed Data Logic, which became Collective Audience, got destroyed by the ineptitude of Aubrey Advisors. And Logic remained as a shell in that case, also destroyed by the ineptitude of the sponsorship from Aubrey Advisors. So that gives you, sitting back 2 Decembers, that gives you GoLogic, but that gives you Logic as a shell and CAUD. So where does RCRT come in? Well, we have to kind of block out Logic and CAUD, and GoLogic, who has the same CEO and everybody. GoLogic decided to make a distribution. They had been acquiring assets. They decided to make a distribution of their I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry. They had purchased a company that had something like $850 million or billion under management, maybe $1 billion. Anyway, an asset company, a financial fintech company they had acquired. And they decided to distribute that as a way of increasing value of GoLogic, distribute that into the shell of recruiters.com. That was announced last year. And recruiters.com abandoned its trading company, its shell company. And I don't know if they're trading now. They have a website. They're all about doing their business. So the whatever recruiters.com did is gone. But the shell, our recruiters.com, stayed behind. And the plan was for GoLogic to put this asset into recruiters.com. So GoLogic would own a bit of recruiters and recruiters would float and it would be worth money. Well, in the recent filings, without getting elaborate, why? Because I can't remember the details. They filed that deal has changed. And I don't know what's happening to that asset. I don't know if that asset now is just staying with GoLogic, or if it's somehow still going to go into recruiters.com. That's not clear in the news announcements. But what is clear, they substituted their agreement to merge this GoLogic asset into the shell of RCRT so it could float and be trading. They made a new agreement that RCRT had worldwide licensing rights to these technologies, this AI and fintech and other products that GoLogic has. They had the worldwide licensing rights, and they project this all sorts of revenue, etc. So where does it leave it? It leaves it that Logic is a shell. Collective Audience is out there. Bless his heart. The CEO, I think, is a great guy doing a great job. He still believes that Aubrey Advisors are really good guys. So I think his path ahead is going to be a little bit spinning a hamster wheel because, well, I'm not going to go into any negatives, but the shorts in CAUD want to protect their profit, and they've got 2 people on the board to do so. That's my judgment. So CAUD, I think, has a tremendous business model, a great CEO, and at some point, I think it'll catch fire. But I think that's more of an accumulate than an urgency to trade that stock. So that's part of Logic that now has a new identity. Logic is a shell, and Logic is doing it's getting its financial reporting in. A shell, by the way, is just a company. If you took Apple Corp and you sold all of its computer production lines, computer technology, its stores, you sold all of that to IBM in some fantastic merger, what would be left behind is a shell company called Apple. It would have nothing in it. A shell company is a I don't know what to say. It's like a body without a body. It's like I don't know what example to give, but it's a fully functioning company, current in its reporting with shareholders, but it doesn't have anything inside of it, but it's ready to go. So you just bring, it's like a body with no soul. You bring the soul in, you combine the body with the soul, and you got Aretha Franklin. So anyway, Logic is sitting there as a shell right now, but there's a reverse merger coming. CAUD, so those are two parts out of Logic. And then you've got the Go Logic sitting from before, and Go Logic is in the middle of something, I'm not sure what. And Go Logic tried to distribute its largest subsidiary into a reverse merger into the shell RCRT. So those are the four companies. I'm not very clear on what's going on with the Go Logic / RCRT because there's been no further discussion other than what I just told you. There's a worldwide licensing fee. But RCRT, just like Logic, have filed their financing. But unlike Logic, RCRT is up and it looks like something's going on. We'll find out, I'm sure. Maybe over the next couple of weeks. Logic is not doing that well. I see you, lucky boy. Logic is 2.5 cents. I guess people are bored with it. There's nothing wrong with Logic. Low volume. So it's 2.5 cents. But they announced that they did got their finances filed. So I expect that there'll be an announcement on their reverse merger soon, just by definition, because if they don't do it soon, they're going to be stuck having to do their second quarter numbers before anything can happen. So anyway, I think something will come there soon. Of the four items, sorry, Heath, it's a long answer. Logic, RCRT, Go Logic, and CAUD. I think Go Logic and CAUD can be safely put on the back burner for now. Pay attention to them. But the two I would look at are Logic and RCRT. With the simple observation, they're both shells essentially. They have a little bit of something. They're both essentially shells who have made their financial filing. So they're ready. Ollie income Frio, they're ready to announce whatever reverse merger candidates they have. I mean, it's obvious. So out of that foursome, I would focus on Logic, LGIQ, and what's called right now recruiter.com, although that name will change. I'm sure Logic will change. RCRT. So Logic is 0.024 and RCRT is $2.13. Sorry for the long answer. Stony, I don't know what that means. Oh yeah, shoulder shrug. Look, Finger Motion, like every other company, has to file an annual report every year. Typically, public companies file their annual report after the first quarter, usually within 45 days of the end of the first quarter. That's the pattern that happens over and over again. Finger Motion has, if you go to Yahoo or over-the-counter markets, it states that their earnings are expected to be reported by the end of the month. That information has been out there for weeks, if not months. And so this news, breaking news that the 10Q is coming at the end of the month, while much appreciated, I guess you could say it's the company being transparent, or probably more accurately, it's the company communicating, which is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. But it's not unexpected. This is not some above and beyond breakout in reporting that Finger's doing as compared to any other company. Simply filing its 10Q is going to have zero effect on the stock price. The news, this breakthrough news, is going to have zero effect on the stock price of Finger. What will have something good to do with Finger is as we get closer and closer to Finger Motion's second quarter, which is when I expect their earnings to turn positive. In other words, excellent revenues, excellent cash flow, and positive earnings, I expect to see in Finger's second quarter, which, by the way, is the third quarter of this year. So I expect we still have to wait possibly into the October, November timeframe to see those results. Once those earnings turn positive, I believe in the body of that report, it will be clear not only to the analysts at Benchmark, but new analysts, new institutions, that earnings in the green, earnings which are positive, will be the ongoing permanent state of Finger for the rest of its existence, unless something really unforeseen happens. So I believe that when earnings are going to become important to Finger is in the third quarter of this year. It could happen sooner, but that's when I expect to see it. So we can focus on earnings. Oh my gosh, when's earnings? When's Finger's earnings? Then the stock's going to go. No. Stop doing that to yourself. Positive earnings, maybe the stock will go up a bit, but then Kurt Kramer's clients will short it right back down. Earnings are not the thing that you should be focusing on, in my judgment. You can disagree with me. What you're looking for is a surprise announcement that the shorts didn't expect. Like the Communist Central Committee decided to award a contract to Finger Motion to build the next generation of hypersonic missiles. I'm making it up, but you need something like that, totally out of the blue. That will cause the stock to go. Or you need something that confirms that Finger Motion is monetizing their big data. They're going into the insurance business heavily, and you get institutions wanting to own Finger because institutions are not mamby-pamby. They're not all, hey, when's the next earnings? When? They see that the long term for Finger is excellent, and they start to buy and accumulate, and they can ride through any ups and downs. Earnings are not going to move Finger Motion stock this time. It's my opinion. What just happened with Finger? Nice little spike. Let's look what happened. Wow, you're right. Finger's having a nice little move. It's at 317.87. The volume is 431. So maybe I'm going to be proven wrong. Maybe earnings will make all the difference in the world. I don't think so. I think other announcements will make the difference. And I think if you listen to the interview that I had with, I haven't listened to it again, but if you listen to that interview or other interviews that Martin Shen gave, or just his 142nd speech he gave at NASDAQ, there are other announcements coming. Other things are coming. That's when I think you could see the stock move. Jeff Easton and his clients are not going to be able to keep finger motion at $3. They're just not going to be able to do it long term. They might be able to do it in the short run. But that's a good call, Galadon. Let me go to the bottom because hey, Aaron. Listening to me in the background. Well, good. In the background is where I need to be. In the background. Gordon Liddy, that he's like an uncle to me. Wow, Bill, that's pretty neat. I'm not a big fan of Watergate. And I didn't know what to think of G. Gordon Liddy. I remember he held his hand out over a flame. That whole time left me with a bad image of Nixon and that all those cronies. But as I got older and listened, and he has his own story. He certainly had honor, and it's pretty cool that he was your uncle, or was like an uncle. You gotta own precious metals, but Lion, my opinion is don't chase it. It looks like it's getting out of control, and it certainly could. But I think the big boys will hammer it all down. You'll get another chance. Every time retail just runs into something, the professionals, and I'm not saying retail isn't smart. I'm not saying retail isn't professional, but they come and cram it down. Dave, the 500 million share short thesis, there's a guy on from the Amex that says it's all baloney. It's just algorithmic trading. They short, then they cover all day long. So you may not agree with that thesis. I don't know what the number is. I think it's a very large number. Why? The NSCC put it in their documents that Alpine was deficient because of a large short position in GTII. Is that new information, or am I just repeating the same old thing over and over again? Are we just talking about the same old thing over and over again? Yeah, we are. But that's what people want to hear. I don't know if it's 500 million shares. It might be 250 million shares. It might be 100 million shares. But that's still there. Question is, Dave, what makes... First, it was Kurt Kramer and his brother and Carlos Danger who shorted that stock. Then it was their clients once they signed the note. And then clearly last sort of November, 2 Novembers ago, or in that range, the Kramers got in trouble. I think they were down over $1 billion. They broke the back of that short squeeze very cleverly They spread their money around. They spread their lies around. They brought in the system to entice another company to get involved, and it worked. It worked. So, but what I saw watching the data that FINRA gives, I saw tens of millions of shares sold in GTII over the next weeks. Short. Now, the guy from Amex will say, oh, they covered it. They covered it this. You don't know when they covered. There's systems in place. You can't listen to that theory. I didn't see any covering. But what's going to make, because Alpine clearly took over the trade. Alpine clearly hired a bunch of cowards to come in and day trade. And they built up that counterfeit position. But what is going to cause any buyback of that position, Dave? It's not Goober Gary Gensler. It's not the twosome Adina Friedman. It's not the guy with more C's in his cavalcade of names over at the OTC markets. It's not the timid large man over at FINRA. Congress isn't going to do anything about it. Your broker dealers aren't going to do anything. The prime brokers aren't going to do anything. The market makers are gone. There is no margin call. Who is going to cause the buy-in of 500 million shares of GTII right now?
Mike Farrell.
Who's going to do that? Dave, who is? I think there's ways to do it if the company made an action plan, implemented that plan, and did it every single day and moved forward. And then eventually the dam will break. I think that could take 6 months, 8 months, 9 months. Besides, the company's not doing anything. Zero. Company's doing zero now. In fact, you could argue they're going the other direction. I think they've got a guy on the board. I can't for the life of me. Remember, the other side, the bad guys, they're not gonna bring you people that look like the devil. They're gonna bring people that look like George Clooney. Hey, he's a good-looking guy. He's fun to go out with. He's raising a family. He's a great guy. He's got a voice like a cigarette machine or coffee in the morning, whiskey at night. He's got to be a great guy. Well, on the other hand, you can look at it and say, maybe a guy who has derivatives on his resume is coming into GTII to get his nose under the tent to be able to go back to the people that are short 500 million shares. But he's on the board now. He's close to management. To me, he'd be the first person gone if I were CEO. Hey, pal, it's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's me. I just don't trust someone that does derivatives being around a company that has 500 million shares short, we think. And the best way out for the shorts is to create a derivative product. I don't trust it. So, hey, pal, you're a great guy. Everyone loves you. And man, you've got a hell of a CV. Hey, it's time to hit the road. And by the way, leave all the records behind. But you probably told the shorts everything that they didn't know already. But turn in your card key, and the company's changing all of its emails and all of its passwords And it's not you, it's me. So Dave, I do not see where the buying comes in on 500 million shares. There's only two ways buying comes in. Regulators or compliance, right? Compliance or regulators. I don't see it happening. Do you? They've been out of compliance for years. Did anyone at the prime broker buy them in? No. Did anyone at your broker dealers mount a campaign to enforce the rules? No. Did Adina Friedman or Chuck E. Cheese Coleman or Robert Cook or Goober Gary Gensler do anything to enforce settlement? No. Why do you think it's going to happen now? Because it crossed 500 million? I don't see it. I just don't see it. The only other way is when the prime broker starts losing money. That's what was happening. That's what was happening when the Kramers were bullshitting to their prime broker, and Alpine was saying, hey, you got to bring in more money. We're down $1 billion in this account on this trade. And obviously the Kramers couldn't do it. So Alpine took over the trade. And then they brought in their henchmen to drive it down. Remember, no compliance, no regulatory oversight, no interest, no curiosity from Adina Friedman, Robert Cook, Chuck E. Cheese Cromwell, Goober Gary Gensler. No curiosity at all of what happens to the companies under their markets. No curiosity. Just cash the check. So I don't see it, Dave. So if you're banking on GTII squeezing right now, you could be right. Now, what could change if for some reason Alpine goes down, which could happen anytime? I'm not a lawyer. My experience with the law is everything takes forever. And ultimately, the lawyers settle. No one gets anything that feels good. And the judges all do quite fine, thank you very much. So that's a possibility. And that could get the thing running. But what would really ignite the fire is when the prime broker and who's ever taking over Alpine starts losing meaningful money. Then they buy in. That's what causes a short squeeze. But there's none of that right now, as far as I can tell, with GTII. None of that right now. Now, GTII going bankrupt does not necessarily have anything to do with anything at all. Bankrupt would imply that the share price will be de minimis. So that's a consequence of going bankrupt. But you don't need to go bankrupt for the thesis, as you put it, of 500 million shares to be a pretty weak thesis. Look at VNUE and HPIL, both stocks that Mark Bazile got a settlement with Kurt Kramer. The news releases came out. We got a settlement. Rah, 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 sis, boom, bah. The Kramers gave up their warrants. They agreed they hadn't done anything wrong. And boy, that was a great settlement. Look at the stock prices. They don't exist. They don't exist. So seller boxing a stock price is just as effective as going bankrupt. But Dave, this myth, and people have it with MMTLP as well, that if you get 2 days trading we'll have a short squeeze. It's lying to ourselves. The only way a short squeeze comes in my judgment, is when prime brokers' sphincters are so tight because they're losing so much money, they start buying. And GTII is nowhere near that place. We lost in GTII. We lost. I think Ham was straightforward in all of the data. I think the company did do for a long time, because of the hard work of one individual who I know and I think the world of, who, as far as I know, gave up. And GTII is as dead in the water as a seabird, bloody seabird flavor. There, Lion, I can't do that. If I do that, I get accused of not talking about GTII and switching tickers. I've got to go down with GTII. GTII is the only stock um, um, GTI is the only stock line I can talk about. If I don't talk about GTII, I'm being a weasel. I'm changing tickers. So I just got to ride it out with GTII. It went from 9 cents to $9 and back all the way back down again. And I just got to ride with it. People didn't sell. And it's all I got. I can't talk about any other things to make money. But I actually think that GTII is at a price level where you can accumulate it. It doesn't mean it won't go down. But we just keep talking. I promised the gentleman yesterday that I would do a live and only talk about GTII. We've got, so any questions have to be relevant to GTII. No, the shorts, Vincent, the shorts, I don't know all the mechanisms they use, but the shorts lie. They hide tickets. They say they located shares in Leningrad, and they say that they're going to deliver shares against a counterfeit note, a toxic convertible note. They lie. And there is no compliance. There's no compliance officer. Nobody is buying back those shares. The CAT system will not cause a flurry of buybacks of shares. The only thing that will is if hedge funds on the long side pick on a stock and they run it up. And then a prime broker is losing so much money, the compliance officer says, buy it all back in. The risk management officer says, buy it all. But no, I don't think CAT is going to do any of that. I think GTII is dead money, dead. The only two things that'll make it go up that I can think of is if the large counterfeit short position at whatever the name of the firm is in Arizona, Allied, Albury, I can't remember the name now, you know, with John Hurry. If that gets bought in, sure, that could make it run. Only once they're losing money. They'll short into it. They'll manipulate it. They'll move stock around until the prime broker is losing money. That's when it'll cover. That's when the covering will come. The only other thing that could happen with GTII is if we're able to bring in assets that change the story on the ground. And that's not going to happen as long as breakfast at weekend at Reichman's is in charge. It's just not going to happen. Well, Gondor's Modern Night. I think your assessment is just about right. To me, you can double or triple your money on logic, LGIQ, because the shorts, there's nothing to short anymore. And when they reverse, there's going to be a reverse merger candidate. I don't know if it's going to be at all at once or spread out over time, but it's going to be worth 20 to 30 cents a share. I've explained it before. I don't know exactly the numbers, but you've got.
Call from Andy.
Hello? Yeah, I'm still on. Do you want to talk to everybody?
Not to do right now.
All right, you're live.
So I forgot where we left off.
Well,
I was picking my son up at school. That's all I know. And then I signed off. I'm sorry.
it's better than picking your nose. Let's see. Finger was up after you got off.
And it's still up or down. Where is it?
It's basically, it was as high as 320, but it's still all right. 315.94.
So if you look at it, go back to root for a second. Remember I pointed out to root that they selling stop and you can just see it melt up?
Right.
This is still met with resistance. So
Right.
the shorts are still playing. It's very different. You can see the patterns, understand the patterns. Root, the sell button has been removed and they're trying to cover and they have to keep moving it up to try to buy stock. So it's very different. And that's what we haven't seen yet. When the stock got to 380, when the company was ringing the bell,
Right.
it was complete an attack trying to hold it down.
Right.
And that's when I heard today there's another short that was laying into it. I posted it and they, expect them to start covering because they, obviously whatever their pattern was didn't work. Whatever their reason was, maybe Lynn Partners' friends needed somebody else with some weight to come into it. You understand? Just remember this about Wall Street. If I get long a stock, I tell all my friends. The shorts do the same thing. If they get short, they have their friends that they tell to get short. That's just how it works. Only in the short world, there's, there may be 1,000 of us, there's 20 of them. Because people just don't do it on the short side. We don't have I don't do it. I don't know. My friends don't do it. They may short 20,000 shares or something, but they would never take these massive positions on. The only people that would take these massive positions on are people that are committing fraud. No one else does that stuff. So it's very different, as long as you understand the difference. They bring in a guy like Timothy Sykes, So, let me retouch on something which I gave to Christian the other day. Remember, firms like Bush, a lot of firms have direct market access. So let's say we all call up Wedbush and say, hey, I'm a hedge fund, and I like to get direct market access. And they will give you the right to make a short using their license. So Wedbush was recently, not a couple of years ago, was fined because they're not watching. What was I saying? Wedbush was not watching what anybody was doing. So they're basically giving everybody their driver's license, and they're saying everybody's just speeding in it. Wedbush is getting the ticket for it. That's exactly, it's the only way I can describe it to you. And that's called direct market access. You can look at it, Wedbush, WEDBUSH, fined for direct market access for looking the other way. Others have also been fined. Wedbush is an LA firm. I don't believe they have many brokers there. No one has brokers anymore. So they make money off of these, example, lending out their license. They give people their license and they use their license to, loot whatever they have to do. Let's say you pay them a fee of, I'm just going to make it up. I'm not sure. You're paying $3,000 a month and you have to do your business through Wedbush. So Wedbush makes the money on the commission side off your trades. They sell your trades, and it's a whole little money maker for it. Get 50 people doing that. I'm sure Wedbush has 500 people doing it, and they're having people doing it from all over the globe. And think about that. And that's what they do. And that's just another piece of the business. I hate to keep expanding the fraud, but there's so much that we don't even know yet that these guys do. There's just so much, and we have to, I don't want to, there's no reason to know all this nonsense. What we really need to know is that they settle a trade. They could do everything they do is fraudulent. If you just settle the trades, 99% of the crookedness goes away. Right? You don't get short and distort, doesn't happen because none of these guys have the balls to put a story out. And if it doesn't work in 2 seconds, to short 1 million shares, if it doesn't work and it goes up an 8 against them on their short story and the stock starts to rally, they'll get slaughtered. That's so the short and distort game goes away. It may hurt you, for the first 10 minutes that they do it, but then it goes away. So that's just another aspect of what they do. So again, I don't want to go into all the different things, but everything stems from one thing, is that they have to settle the trades. If they don't settle the trades, then we have to deal with all this nonsense.
So why don't you talk? There's so many questions on it, and I'll tell you, I'm not optimistic. But what do you think of the CAT system? The congressmen that are saying it's a violation of privacy.
You think it's not going to have anything to do if it was such a non-event? Why are all these people speaking out about it?
Well,
right?
That's so good.
Out about it.
Yeah, talk
They're
about
speaking out about it because it is going to affect everybody. That's why.
Okay.
I think you're wrong on that.
Okay.
If it was a non-event, the politicians would know it's a non-event and they wouldn't speak about it.
Okay.
That's how I look at it. If you knock down my door and it says, they go, well, we all know it's a bullshit thing. And they would sit there and say, I'm not going to sign my name to this thing. What the hell is it? Can you put your name to this thing for what? There's nothing to say. So there's nothing there. And that's how I see it,
All right. Somebody here is saying Erasmo is saying DJT is a sell. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I agree. Go buy puts, short all you can, and take 2 pills and call me in the morning. I don't really give a shit. Sell it, buy it, I don't care. All I know is that if they force settlement, good luck with your short position. The same thing happened in Root. I just described this before. It's the same thing. You're out of your bird. It's a startup. You open a store, any kind of store. You got to rent the building. Then you got to buy. If you're going to start a bakery, you got to buy ovens. You got to hire bakers. It's not easy to do. The company's only merged a couple of months, and your thing is to sell based on because somebody's telling you to sell. I don't know. Good luck. That's not my business. I think you're out of your bird, but that's a different story. And you say, well, it's down today. Well, you know what? How's the stock going down when no one's selling it? All right. They can't borrow a share. It's all fraud. That's what I keep trying to tell you. I can make a stock go down, and I'm a jerk off. I could destroy companies. Give me the right and give me a book with some money in it. I will destroy companies. I'll have CEOs begging. And everybody I know can do the same thing. Just hit the sell button. Sell, 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 sell. A buyer comes in for 50,000, you sell 51,000. As soon as you hit the 50, there's one more for sale. You knock it down again. And that's all you got to keep doing. Sell, 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 sell. You let it lift into a while, then you hit sell, 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 sell. That's what you're going against. I don't know about you, but basing your decisions on someone committing fraud is not Wall Street. It's very different. To me, you waste. Good luck. You roll your dice. I can pick all $50 stocks that are overvalued. I can do it all day long myself. Anybody can do it. These guys are manipulating the stock. That's all it is. And I believe that Donald Trump and Devin Nunes are going to take your head off. That's what I believe. If you don't believe that, go buy puts, call them a shithead, and short it. I don't care.
If the CAT system shows shorts in GTII, won't they have to cover?
I have to wait till I don't know what the CAT system's going to show. We have to wait for it to come out. We can start reading the data when we see it.
NVIDIA beats earnings. Stock is it over 1,000 like I predicted? I can't believe it's over 1,000.
Is it over 1,000?
Let me look. NVDA. I don't believe it. No, it's not. It's 951.
Oh, they've been waiting, and now they'll give the whisper number or whatever it's going to. Listen, it's very difficult to play those things based on that. It's just very hard,
Somebody's saying that GME is going up again. I don't know. Let me look. I think that game was over.
Listen, I wish it happens. I hope it. Go get them. Heal yourself. Knock yourself out. All right. I don't understand how they're still playing it. It's a whole different, it's a beast that, I know nothing about anymore.
All right. Here's a guy that told a friend of his who's a CEO of a company who wants to go public, and he said, no, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Stay private.
I would be the first to tell him also. Tell them to keep it private. If you have a good company, build it up. Go raise dollars through the street, private transactions. And when you're profitable, then you can go public. Or go to South Korea and list yourself there on my make-believe exchange where I want to do it. All right, listen, everybody, I'm out of gas. I just wanted to check in, say hi, and goodbye again. I'm sorry. I'm actually going to play pickleball right now, so I had enough.
All right. Well, thank you. Your finger is 320.
There you go.
It's going
All
up.
right, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you.
All right. Bye. All right. So
Ended.
Let me be clear. See, this is the problem.
Call from Andy.
Hello? Hello? This is the problem with talking about stocks is people misunderstand my point of view. I think I've been very clear about the negatives of GTII, but if I own GTII, I'm not selling. And if I had money right now, there's 2 or 3 stocks I would buy. This gentleman, he's absolutely right. I forget his name. Gondors. Where is Gondors? Anyway, Gondors says that logic is down. They shorted that. Yeah, the whole market is shorted. I mean, everything is shorted. Gondors, I've gone through. It is my opinion that Aubrey Advisors set up a sting operation on Logic and CAUD. Aubrey Advisors. The CEO at CAUD is absolutely convinced that Aubrey Advisors is a top-notch firm. The people are straight up great. Their client, Polar, fantastic. So that's, and the 2 members of the Aubrey Advisors team are now on the board at CAUD. But Gondor, what Aubrey Advisors did with Chandron Financial Advisors and the lawyers, for over a year, the data logic part of Logic was to be distributed into the SPAC and then de-SPAC so the SPAC floats. Aubrey Advisors has done over 100 of these, and they didn't think of 2 things. One, well, before they got there, they delayed in responding to every single question from the SEC. They delayed every response. Was it because they were overwhelmed with business? Was it on purpose? But what it did do is it costed Logic and CAUD money, data logic money, to make the filings, to keep everything current with the SEC, the reporting. So it cost money. So they needed to raise $5 million. Who did they turn to? Chandron Financial Advisors, the lawyers, and Aubrey Advisors. Aubrey Advisors, they've done over 100 SPACs and de-SPACs. They have this huge hedge fund, Polar, behind them. And in their best judgment, the thing to do was to raise just enough money to pay the lawyers and to pay the financial advisors. In Aubrey Advisors' best judgment, the thing to do was to leave Logic no money and leave CAUD no money. So what happened, I forget where this question is. There it is. So what happened is the de-SPAC was a disaster. The shorts knew, and I believe the shorts are Aubrey Advisors and Polar. The shorts and Chandron, I think it was a complete setup. But the shorts knew that the shell, Logic being a shell, just like GTII is a shell, just like RCRT is a shell, just like there's another one out there. There's another shell out there. Logic's just a shell. So when it's trading at 20 cents, they short it. It's not worth anything. But remember, Logic discussed doing a reverse merger well over a year ago worth $250 million in value. You don't, I guess, understand what a reverse merger is. A shell company is like this cover for a book. It's all ready to go, shiny, nice information. When a reverse merger happens, the company comes in and the company fills out the shell, and all of a sudden you've got a real book, a real company. So by Aubrey Advisors, by leaving Logic without money, by destroying by ineptitude or inability, leaving CAUD without money, those two companies got destroyed by the shorts. I argue, I'll be very clear, that Aubrey SPAC's client was Polar, not Logic or CAUD. That Polar and another one shorted the shit out of the stocks. And the job of Aubrey Advisors is to keep the stock low, because I believe Polar took over $100 million out of the market. No one agrees with me. But remember, Logic is just a shell. They don't have management costs. They don't have a need for ongoing money other than reporting. They don't have anything. It's still the shell. Logic is still the shell. They had a year and a half ago a company coming in worth $250 million. And Logic was going to retain something like 12.5% of the NewCo. Well, they let that deal expire because they have better companies, bigger companies coming in. So I'm going to ask you, Gondors. Of course, it's down. It's down today. Logic is down to Logic closed at 2 cents. Well, the bid 2.5 cents. So 2.5 cents. You could buy it at 0.0261. So call it 2.5 cents. So Logic is trading at 2.5 cents. But there's going to be a reverse merger coming into Logic. But what does Logic have to do, Gondors? Logic has to make sure that its filings are current. One of the things that Aubrey Advisors did, either by ineptitude or intentionally, and I think it was intentional, because I think that Aubrey Advisors is just a fancy Lynn Partners. My opinion. By not leaving enough money for Logic to just survive until the reverse merger, and by destroying the de-SPAC out of either ineptitude or intentionally, they really put Logic in a nightmare position. The reverse merger that was going to happen suddenly has to be put on hold while it's all hands on deck to make sure CAUD is okay, because that's where the earnings engine went. And the other thing that happens, Gondors, is that Logic exists as its own company past the end of the fourth quarter, past the end of the year. So in the fourth quarter, Logic was all up to date on its filings. It was ready to do the reverse merger as Aubrey Advisors, the sponsor, had organized and had promised. But remember, Aubrey Advisors is there to make sure that the de-SPAC fails so their real client, Polar, can make $100 million. And if you were around, I don't know if you were, when I saw the filing sometime in August, I lost my cool. No one believed me. I still get grief about it because people don't want to believe that Aubrey Advisors is a sack of suds. But anyway, let's just talk about Logic. So Logic, instead of being a clean, shiny, ready to go shell, it became somewhat musty and dirty. Why? Because it needed to do its filings. And all of a sudden, it goes from being ready for a reverse merger to having to file its fourth quarter numbers. And then it has to file its entire year's annual report. And at this point, it has to also file its first quarter. This is something that Aubrey Advisors did on purpose, in my opinion and in my judgment. If they didn't do it on purpose, they are one of the most inept amateur investment banks on Wall Street. They did it on purpose. So what happens to Logic? They don't have any money. They need to do their filings. Time goes by. So you get impatient, Condors. You tell me I recommended Logic, which I did in December. Do you see it? December 18th. It was 0.0247. And you're saying it's shorted down as well. Well, frankly, since December, it went lower. You're right. But it's actually flat since December. But it's disappointing, Condors. I own it. And it's frustrating as hell. But guys, I don't have a magic wand. I can't force compliance with the rules. I can't force the people like Aubrey Advisors to be honest or competent. I can't force the river of money to stop corrupting all of Wall Street. I can't do it. I was told by this same guy that works for Amex that this deal was going to be done. Everything's lined up. Great, boom, boom. Well, he still thinks it's algorithmic trading that's doing this. It's not. It's the corruption on Wall Street. So Logic is sitting there. It's no longer a shiny, clean shell. It needs to get its numbers done. Well, what, Gondors, does that mean to a short? It means the company needs to raise money. So their denominator's going to change. And if you notice with Logic, I used to say the number was sort of 40 to 60 cents. For a while, I thought it was more like 50 to 70 cents, the reverse merger. But now I'm saying 20 cents, maybe 25 cents. Why? They had to raise money, obviously. Why? Because Aubrey Advisors knows this. To get your financial filings done, you have to hire what? A CPA An auditor. Does it cost money? You have no money. Does it cost money? So the shorts know they can destroy a company by leaving it with no money and making the shell unattractive because it isn't clean. And you're going to say, with all due respect, it's down. Well, in December, I already knew all of this I'm talking about. And last week, Gondors, I'll give you the exact day. Logic on May 3rd, May 3rd. Logic filed its annual report, its 10K, for the year ending December 31, 2023. They had to restate the GoLogic value at its distribution. So they also had to amend their 10K for December 31, 2022. They filed that as well. They filed their 10Q for their quarter ending September 30, 2023. They did that May 3rd. They filed their quarterly report for the quarter ending June 30, 2023, and for March 31, 2023. These were all amended quarterly reports to reflect a change in how the GoLogic distribution was accounted for. They did all that, Gondors, on May 3rd. So all of the filings necessary to turn the shell company from a murky, I'm not interested, into a shiny object with shareholders current on its filings, ready to go, has been done, except it looks like for the first quarter, which I expect will be any time. So now Logic is a shiny, clean shell again. So Gondors, if they bring in a $500 million company, which is the lowest number I heard in discussions that we had here with Brent, and Logic gets 10%, you and I get 10% of that, and we assume all the shares have been issued, it's worth 20 cents a share. So Gondors, with all due respect, do you invest looking backwards? Or do you try to get, I don't know if I've presented this well enough to you, but here's the cold, hard truth. Logic is trading for 2.5 cents. Sometime before they cross a line that makes it necessary to file the second quarter numbers and go from shiny to murky, they're going to have to do this reverse merger, or they're going to have to go through the murky stage again. So we're halfway through May. We're halfway through the second quarter. That would indicate to me that at some time over the next 6 weeks, Logic needs to announce their reverse merger candidate, and close it before they have to report second quarter numbers. That's the urgency. So sometime in the next 6 weeks, I think Logic will announce its reverse candidate. It'll have a company come into the shell. It'll be all shiny and trading. And if it's 500 million and we get 10% of that, that means the stock, and we use all the stock that's available, that's 20 cents a share. So Gondors, with all due respect, because I can't deny that over the since Aubrey SPAC intentionally, in my judgment, destroyed the value of Logic and the value of CAUD, or it was ineptitude. And like I say, with all of these people involved, would they rather be known as inept or complicit? I don't know. It's a close call. Close call. Would you rather be known as stupid or complicit? I don't know. So anyway, Gondors, Logic is trading at 2.5 cents. It's going to be worth 20 cents, let's say, within 4 weeks, because they can't leave it to the very last couple of weeks. Let's say within 4 weeks, on paper, it's going to be worth 20 cents a share. Now, the market is going to look at that and say, is that value accurate? And is the new company going to grow? Does it have cash? Does it have revenues? And are they going to sign the deal with a group like Jeff Easton? Those are what the market's going to do. So you could say, oh, they're going to keep shorting it and they're just going to keep it down here. But that misses something. We don't own the new shiny company. We don't own it. We only own 10% of this new company. 10% of this new company. So yes, the value could come into question. Yes, the new management might do a deal with Jeff Easton. On the other hand, we're only 10% of this. So it's likely that they've selected a company which has revenues, cash flow, maybe a cash balance, growth. But what we do know is there's a reverse split. The stock will be $10, $11, $15 on the horrible exchange NASDAQ or maybe NYSE instead of 20 cents. Do the shorts want to short? Remember, the shorts are in Logic, which is now 10% of the new company. Do the shorts now want to establish a short position in whatever the new company is called and try to drive 90% of the company down? I mean, I guess you're right, that could happen. But I think it's much more likely that the stock price of Logic will go from 2.5 cents to some number in between 2.5 and 20 cents. It could go over 20 cents if there's a short squeeze, which I wouldn't think would be a huge one. But if you own it at 2.5 cents, it goes to 5 cents. That's a double of your money. That's 100%. If it goes to 7.5 cents, that's 200 times. That's 2x. Well, actually, I guess it's 3x. It's 200% on your money. Goes to 10. It goes to 12.5. Goes to 15 cents. That's what I'm talking about, Gondors. But you don't have to do it. I just think if you've lost your 401k, you have to do trades slowly at first. I think Finger is a stock that can double from here without a squeeze. Those two that I can't talk about have a chance of squeezing. I think DJT is going to go up. And the chart on RCRT looks very compelling, but I don't have a story to tell you there. So anyway, Gondors, that's why I think logic, you can double, triple, quadruple your money. And I think it'll come very quickly. You get out and then you have that little bit of cash and you wait for the next idea. And slowly you can build back your position. Finally, as I've been saying for quite a while, if you just want to give up on the markets altogether, just put what's left into silver. And I can't give you financial advice, but put it in physical silver. It's the only asset out there that hasn't been expanded by the bubble, the everything bubble. And I think you can make 10 times your money in silver over time. If you want to do it in your account, buy the Sprott Physical Silver Trust. I think it's P as in physical, SLV as in silver, PSLV. All right, troll baits, you got your time in the sun. Thank you, Owe. Don't make a fool out of myself. It's pretty easy for me to make a fool out of myself. I'm bullish on GTII. Look, it was 42 cents in December. I just am telling people. Now is not the time to anticipate a huge move in GTII. The three things could make it move quickly. Alpine collapses and there's a buy-in. Some buyer comes from somewhere to shock the system, either, it could be anything, or a big asset comes into the company. All three of those probably require, well, two of those require all three of those guys. All three of those guys are anyway, I'm bored of talking about GTII. I actually didn't ignore your message. I put it up there for quite a while. But you know what? Now that you've had your moment in the sun, I've had joy, we've had fun, we've had seasons in the sun. We'll say goodbye to you. Ham promoted a documentary. I lost a lot of money when I went down to do the interview with the documentary crew. It was on a Friday as finger motion calls expired. I was sitting out having coffee, looking at my account. Where are you? Where are you? I got phone calls from Ham. I got phone calls from the guy running it, from the woman running it, from other women. Where are you? You need to be down there. They're there trying to do an interview. I got there. They weren't there yet. Then they got there. Then they set it up. Then they interviewed me for a couple of hours. Then I said, I'll take you to lunch. We went down in front of the SEC first, took some pictures. Then we went to lunch. I bought them lunch. And by the time I got done, it was 10 minutes to 4, and I had lost a shitload of money in my finger options. the documentary, they're great people. The guy doing it is excellent. The two people working with him, filming and etc. were fantastic. His partner was top notch, and they're doing a great job on that video. My understanding is they need a little more content, and they're working on getting a little bit more content, David. So I expect this documentary to come out shortly, but Ham does not control it. The money that Ham raised went to the documentary. The GoFundMe was in the I'm forgetting the gentleman's name. It was in the name of that guy. So there's no money that's been taken and pocketed. It's all gone to the documentary. Thank you, Jennifer. No, I banned this one guy. I'm not going to say his name because he gets paid. He gets paid $7 every time I mention his name. Who gets access to the CAT system? I'm not quite sure. Okay, Gondors. Don't buy Logic. I just ignore everything I said. It's down 93%. It's obviously not going to go up. Don't do Logic. Don't do Logic. Just don't, Gondors. Just don't. I just don't know what to say. There's no more winning in these stocks. I don't know, Gondors. Last week, GME went up some fantastic percentage. For people who got out, and I know I was saying sell calls at a minimum or get out, take your profit, it'll go down. People made money, but they had to wait. So I don't know. I really appreciate the negativity, Condors. It's helpful for everyone. What do you want me to be careful of, Lion of all trades? Uh-oh. What do you want me to be easy on, Lion? I don't. I think it's true. If I just washed my hair before I came on. I didn't comb it. That's a good point. Beth, I'm not saying GTII is gone. I really am not. But if GTII were to go to $1.40, that would be a move of 10x, right? If it went to $14, that would be 100x. Do you know how rare those are? They don't happen. The momentum has been completely broken in GTII. I think it's been done with fraud. And by now, the management has been worn out. And if we were able, Beth, to bring in a mining company, for example, that put $35 a share net asset value on the books, we'd be back in the game. But in my judgment, and I could be wrong, it's not going to happen as long as David Reichman is CEO. And I think the guy that David Reichman brought in that does derivatives is there to make sure that if something like a Trento Mines is offered to David Reichman, he can tell Reichman this is a bad deal, because I think that guy's there to protect John Hurry. It's all in my opinion. So Beth, I'm not, the strength of GTII, there's two strengths as I see it. There's this enormously well-educated shareholder base and highly motivated shareholders to get this stock up. That's a massive asset. Secondly, there is an enormous counterfeit short position that's sitting there. What needs to happen is David Reichman has to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. David Reichman has to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Reichman has to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Reichman has to go. And right now, the best avenue to get rid of him is a lawsuit. That takes time. Negotiations with the largest shareholders is another way to get him out. That takes time. Calling for a shareholders meeting, that takes time. But these are all avenues to move forward with the goal of hey ho, hey, hey, hey ho, Reichman's got to go. If he goes, I believe that there are at least two gentlemen who have enormous energy, enormous dedication, and are bringing deals to the company that could transform the story on the ground for GTII overnight. Now, I don't think it's a secret to the shorts, so I don't think I'm giving anything away. But in order to bring in an asset, you have to issue a lot of stock. And what the shorts do, what Wall Street does, what Gary Gensler allows the hedge funds and Goldman Sachs to do, is to drive stock prices so low by issuing counterfeit shares and never enforcing settlement, that in order to issue enough stock to make the deal attractive to the company who is being acquired, you have to dilute the FUCK out of your share base. So while the acquisition can be a huge good announcement, the per share value is nothing to be afraid of from the shorts position. So how do you get around that? Well, as David Reichman leaves, hey, hey, ho, ho, David Reichman has to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, return the shares you issued, yo. He has to give up the shares he issued to himself. You could probably get 250 to 400 million shares back in that negotiation. And then you have some stock as currency. But the current stock markets do not allow companies to use their stock as currency. Why? Because Gary Gensler protects Goldman Sachs prime brokerage. If you listened to Patrick Byrne, Goldman Sachs is a stock loan desk, which is just a fancy way of saying a criminal racketeering organization who prints stock that does not exist with the name of an investment bank on the door. He said 150%, he's obviously exaggerating, 150% of Goldman Sachs earnings comes from this activity. Gary Gensler is there to make sure that the stock prices do not go up. In order to make GTII share price to go up, we have to get rid of David Reichman. That's going to take time. That's either going to be legal lawsuits, calling a shareholders meeting, and it takes time. What do the shorts do during that time? Do they let the stock go up? Hell no. Do they drive it down hoping to sell or box it? Very maybe.
Fulcrum.
Very
Jerry.
maybe. Very maybe.
Fulcrum. Jerry.
So when I say talking about GTII is a waste of energy and a waste of time, it has been for many months. I think it's going to continue to be until Gary Gensler, until David Reichman is gone. The only saving grace could be that the Alpine position has to be bought in suddenly. There also could be buyers stepping up, and maybe there'll be momentum as we move for management change. But I do not think GTII is gone. In fact, if one of these stocks that I have described to you goes up and I make a profit, I intend to add to my GTII position. But I am not hopeful that GTII will squeeze right away. I'm not hopeful that GTII will squeeze with a magical announcement. But I do want to buy it while it's trading in these low numbers, because I do believe that Kurt Kramer, Seth Kramer, and Carlos Danger are going down. I do believe they broke the rules. I do believe the SEC this time, going after Kurt Kramer in its complaint, will not settle with the two-time recidivist, Kurt Kramer. I do believe that the lawsuit that Alpine has put through the court system will eventually be resolved, and maybe as soon as within 30 days, and that Alpine will be expelled from FINRA, and that could cause buy-ins of that share position, because there isn't a prime broker on Wall Street that wants to take over that loser. So yes, I would add, but do I expect the stock to stay here? Do I expect it to go down? I don't know what to say. My guess is the stock goes lower. Why? Because Kurt Kramer's friends, Alpine's friends, whoever is trapped, simply has to enter through a market maker, sell orders of shares which they do not own, which they have not located, which do not exist, and they do it every single day. And they will continue to do it. My expectation is that the criminals will continue to sell GTII, hoping to get it much, much lower, hoping to get the per share price down, so that if we are able to negotiate a transformative merger, that on a per share basis, it doesn't make much of a difference. That's what we're up against. And nobody's going to come rescue us. Nobody. But we can fight it. We can fight it. One of the most obvious ways is to put a team in there who refuses to do business with Kurt Kramer, refuses to do business with John Hurry, refuses to help the shorts in any way, and is going to bring into the company assets, cash flow, revenues, and earnings to change the story, and is going to be severe in its reduction of outstanding shares, and is going to be transparent with the regulators, and is going to go after each of these shorts, and is not going to be scared of taking lawsuits all the way through to discovery. But Beth, it's going to take time. And before any of that happens, GTII is going to continue to be sold, spoofed, crossed, manipulated by the clients of Kurt Kramer, the clients of Alpine, the sidekicks of Alpine, and it is not going to be an easy road to hoe for the next weeks and probably months. For me personally, I want to take the opportunity to trade in some of these other stocks and add to my GTII. For those of you who didn't sell already to take tax losses, that opportunity might still be there. For me, I don't intend to sell my GTII now. The more I talk, the more frustrated I get. I would like, it was suggested to me in August, and I said, yes. I don't know the status of it now. But if I were had king of the world and made CEO of GTII, my personal mission would be to not only make that stock go up, but to make it squeeze and make sure that everybody here in it makes a nice return, if not a bloody fortune. And that Kurt Kramer, Seth Kramer, Charlie Big Nose, John Hurry, his wife, Scottsdale, all go to prison. But right now, GTII is a shell. And as Gondor pointed out, Logic's down 93%. I bet he could say the same thing about GTII. I bet he could say the same thing about Vocal. I bet he could say the same thing about CLNN. I bet he could say the same thing about MMAT. I bet he could say the same thing about MULN. I'm almost certain he can say the same thing about CAUD. In a market where the police are on the side of the criminals, this is what we face. But we're educated. We know what to do. and we can do it. Beth, I haven't given up on GTII, but in defense of my pulling back from it, sort of July, August, something like that last year. I mean, I wasn't wrong. Perhaps there was a trade in here when it rallied back up briefly, but it's just been a slow destruction of GTII in these yellow lines from the time that everyone, on the advice of Frank Benedetto, Lou Bravo, and the CEO of COSM. Let me find his name, because his name needs to live in infamy too. Greg Siakis. They got everybody when the squeeze was working here. And by the way, Beth, in retrospect, this was a great time to sell. I didn't do it, but it was a great time to sell because that was our squeeze. For me personally, I thought we were going much, much higher. Fidelity was paying 1,000% to borrow stock. Wells Fargo took away the buy button, and Wall Street was slow walking the exercise of the warrants issued as a special dividend. Well, collectively, on the advice and urging of Greg Siakis, Lou Bravo, oh, you can't say that, he's dead. Look, I think Lou would agree this is what happened. And Frank Benedetto, IR, for Cosmo. The idea was, look, the CEO of GTII is not speaking to Lou, but Greg Siakis is speaking to Lou. And Greg Siakis is going to go up on upstream. Greg Siakis is not going to do a reverse split. Greg Siakis is changing the name of the company. That's going to make it squeeze. Greg Siakis is changing the QSIP. That's going to make it squeeze. And there's 2,000% short. All of this is factual, but it's also in my opinion and in my judgment, as everything on this video is. So people moved over to COSM, and this broke the stock down, and there's a gap here. And the selling was just massive. The short selling was just massive, according to FINRA data. There was some dead cat bouncing, some recovery. And then all of last year, it's just been a steady downhill slog. Now, in here, for the first half of 2023, the argument could have been made, which I thought was a reasonable argument, that Finger, which was behaving really well, it was going up. It went from almost $1 to something like $7 over these months. That if Finger did a run and the whales got out of Finger, they'd come make GTII run. Well, the thing is, Finger, right at the time that I went down to do my interview, Finger gave up the ghost too. And the market started telling you that Finger wasn't going up right away either. So I knew sometime July, August, that Reichman didn't want to leave GTII. And I think I called it a palace intrigue. But I didn't say, hey, sell, sell, sell. Why? Because at any time this could happen. This could happen. And also, I did not think for the life of me that Reichman would not take the massively attractive deal that was offered to him. There was nowhere way in my mind that the guy would turn down what was offered to him other than delusional thinking or just the native need to negotiate a deal to death. I don't know. But he did not take what was offered to him. I didn't find that out right away. I wasn't privy to the negotiations. But it slowly became clear he wasn't moving. I thought he was taking it any day now. But time went by. And then we came into tax loss selling. And I remember telling everybody about tax loss selling. And look what happened. Tax loss selling. And the shorts sold. Well, lo and behold, there was a bit of a rally. But lo and behold, Reichman is still, almost a year later, still at the company. This is the magic of David Reichman's decision. I love that he worked, and I give him great credit that he worked on our behalf for 2 years. But his winning streak ended when he decided that he was the best man to stay in a company, public company, which is an incubator of private companies to go public. The IPO market slowed down. He is way too old. I doubt he knows what a TikTok or a I don't know. I don't even know all the technical things out there. But young companies are not going to come to GTII to be incubated. I looked on the website of recruiter.com, the new one, and it said it was offering things to companies that sounded a lot like what GTII could offer. So anyway, Reichman decided the best thing for the company and for himself was to hold on to that butterfly so tightly that he broke the wings and took all the color and magic dust off those wings, and the company can no longer fly. I think that was a bad decision on David Reichman's part, and I sensed it back there. My sense wasn't without risk, because at any time he could have made the right decision. I think he made the wrong decision. So Beth, now we're down here at 14 cents. We're not too far from this green line, which I think is 9 cents, even though I squiggled up too high. We're not too far from that. That's a complete round trip on the trade. I mean, it could go lower, I suppose, but that means that people that got in at 9 cents and held it through all this up and down through 2.5 years and didn't take any profits are back to break even. It means that people who bought in the $1, $2 range to see it go to $9 and didn't sell in any of these phrases are now underwater. It means that people who I think are doing the right thing, if we can get control of the company, that's a big if. But I think people who are averaging down, buying more, are doing the right thing. And all I can tell you, Beth, is I intend to do everything in my power to get this stock back up to the logical level of $1, $2. But if we can get it up to the $5, $9 range, But it's not going to be overnight, Beth. It's not going to be overnight. But there'll be momentum. There'll be updates. People will know what's happening if I have anything to do with it. And so your sense of foreboding will disappear. There'll be momentum. There will be cash flow. If it's me, there's going to be cash flow, boys. Cash flow. No deals with the criminals on Wall Street. Cash flow. And as this stock goes up, alternatives will come to us. And as whoever owns the 500 million shares, whether you agree with that number, maybe it's higher, maybe it's a lot lower, where whoever owns what NSCC referred to as a large naked short position, a deficiency on Alpine's basis, my goal will be to drive this stock up to where they're losing money and they cover. But I do not think it's gone, Beth. I do think the changes I've described have to be made. Wow. 3.1 billion naked shorts reported by GME. And I guess Lion is saying it's going to go to 950. Let's see how it's trading. I got to call somebody. Hang on just a second. All right. Sorry, guys. I just screwed up because I get trying to do too many things. Um, uh, I don't know. I'm back. I don't know what I'm going to do now here. I'm distracted by what I just did. Um, Lou said as long as it will never run. Yeah, I think Lou, by the way, I think Lou has given great advice sometimes. So, and I'm hard on the CEOs. I'm hard on the, um, uh, I'm hard on the advisors. I don't know what to call them. But the fact is, the whole system is corrupt. The whole system is corrupt. I agree with that too, MJ Black. He was far ahead of the game. He was far ahead of the game on a number of things. Hey, lucky boy. I love you. I love you. I love you. Sure. Sure. Hey, lucky. I love you. I just made a mistake because I'm distracted by this. I've got to get it out of my head and move on here. Yeah, Lee, I'm not trying to be. I get so much grief on GTII. I promised Chuck Donal that I would do my next video on GTII, and that's what I've done. It's not pretty. It's got to have a change in direction. But I've got to change gears. Let's see how some of these trades are. Um, oh, that's what you were saying, Lion. NVIDIA's at 952. NVIDIA's at 952. All right, I don't know where we are with these comments. I was talking to Beth. Where do we have proof of the companies being naked, shorted counterfeit shares? That's not a serious question, is it? Is that a serious question? I'm gonna choose to believe that that's not a serious question. Is there proof anywhere that there's naked shorts in companies? I guess it is a serious question. The one place you can go to FINRA. I've got to remember the page. That's not it. I can't find it, Mark. There's a page where you can go on FINRA and find the reported naked short selling each day. And is that proof? It's data provided by FINRA. It does not show when they cover it. So there can be an argument made, I suppose, that as the shorts short, they cover every single day. So there is no proof. So Mark, there's a website called Short Volume, but there's another one. I just can't remember it. FINRA. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. Short interest reporting. Now this isn't it. I wish I could find it, Mark. I just can't remember the website. FINRA short. Let's see if this is it. No, it's not it. Unless they've changed it. Anyway, Mark, I can't find it anymore. There is a site that FINRA reports the daily short numbers. Hey, little boy, let's go for a walk. So, guys, that was my call on GTII. I spent the whole afternoon on GTII, and I know it bored everybody. It bored the hell out of me, but that was the request, and that was my promise. I'm intrigued by this stock because of this action over here, but I don't know that it really followed up today. So I don't know. It pulled back to 202. So it doesn't break support. 202's in here somewhere. Anyway, that intrigues me. Logic looks like shit, but I think that's a trade. And Finger was up a little bit. It's up 18 cents. I definitely think there's a trade there. So I'll try to find it. I cannot find the website. Let's see, short. It's been so long since I've looked. I can't find it. I'll have to ask Ham for the website. Real Conquer. See you later. Look, Real Conquer just said that GTII is a scam company. Not a scam company. Real Conquer is a scam. GTII is a shell who GTII took a note from a two-time recidivist, Kurt Kramer, who is now under investigation by the SEC for the non-registered sale of securities. Kurt Kramer is a criminal. GTII fought very hard against Kurt Kramer and Alpine, but the regulators don't care. Guys like this, the Real Conquer, have no courage. They're useless, and they're paid money to come shill. He's the one that's a scam, the Real Conquer. Now, the Real Conquer doesn't know because he does this for every company that he shorts. But I think I've pretty much told you as bluntly as I can what I see with GTII. It is a shell company, and for the time being, in the shell is nothing attractive that's going to scare the shorts. Alpine is in trouble, but they're going through a court process. It's going to take time. I think the only way to shake up GTII is for shareholders to request a change at the top. That's my opinion. Oh, Ace is a good guy, and I think Ace. Let me see what this guy's saying. Last Friday, the whole float seemed to be shorted. Is that a good or a bad thing in terms of being long? I assume that might be a good thing, right? How are you, Mr. BN MacBook Pro? Squeeze play. I don't know anything about that one. Look, guys, this market is very difficult. It used to be that you could take information and you could make a rational decision about investing. But it's like Gerald Salente says. It's like Salente says. The markets are so rigged, you can't predict anything, and you can't predict anything. The one thing you can predict is every single stock is going to be counterfeited in Gary Gensler's markets. Every single one. The only difference with the bigger stocks is there's institutions behind those stocks that have research, have trading desks, and they can counteract. Also, when you have an ETF, they lend out those shares to counterfeit, but also ETFs are set it and forget it investments. And so are mutual funds, so are IRAs. Reinvest the money, reinvest the money, reinvest the money. And that puts a floor under it. I I agree, Skinny, but what I've been trying to get people to think about is we can make money in maybe in other shares. If I were a wealth advisor right now, I wouldn't be recommending these shares. I'd be talking about other things. But you can go to your stockbroker or your wealth advisor to get advice on, why don't you put your money with the Fidelity funds or with the Merrill Lynch Asset Management High Tech Bust Fund. Um, so that's what you were saying, Lion, is the video. All right, guys, I'm distracted. I shouldn't have taken this call that I took. I should have just let it go. Damn it. Anyway, everybody will get over it. I'm totally distracted. I'm off my game all of a sudden. So I did speak about GTII. I did what I promised. I don't think I'll do that again. I don't think I'll talk about GTII again. I haven't given up on it. I think that we can make things work, but guys, it's going to be a tough job. And there are other stocks out here that might be worth the trade. Um, I think precious metals is where to go, and I think I'm gonna sign off now because no, I'm all right with my shoulder. I'm all right with my shoulder. So I don't know. Guys, I'm not sure I should do this stuff anymore. I get too upset. I I think it's completely useless. And words can be so twisted. And then these people come on and they misrepresent things. I don't mind if I'm wrong. I don't mind being told I'm wrong. Oh no, Mr. Wales. Around here, we have something called justice. Well, around here, we have something called the Missouri Boat Ride. The Missouri Boat Ride. What? Shouldn't we bury him? Birds gotta eat, same as worms. You're a good man, Lieutenant. Good man always knows his limitations. Yeah, Lion, I'd like to do that, but I need a computer, and I don't have a good computer. Well, you know, Ham's been trying to do something similar. Um, what did Bird Lady say, Big Al? My head's pounding. Damn it. All right, Bird Lady. Bird Lady roller pigeons. All right, guys, I'm going to sign out. I'm going to go walk my dog. Thank you for joining in. You can see that GTI leads to such positive discussions, but there we go. It's partly my own fault because I was distracted by something else and I screwed it up. So, yeah, peace, happiness, and love. See you later, little Sheriff Popcorn.